welcome back. We are on day 3 now, working through the King James's Bible, and today we are on chapters 8 through to 11. So we have covered so far 1 to 7, and we left off on chapter 7 with Noah on the ark with the flood for 40 days and 40 nights. And on that ark he's got his whole family and 2 of every kind of living creature that roams the earth are on there. So here we go into chapter 8. So God now remembers that Noah is on the ark with the 2 living animals of every kind, and he brings forth a wind. So we have the element of air coming in to clear away the waters, and he stops the rain from falling. And after 150 days, the waters are abated. The ark rests on 7th month, which is July, on the 17th day upon the mountains of Ararat. The waters then decrease continually until the 10th month, which is October, the 1st day. So the 1st of October, they keep continually decreasing until then. Now, after the 40th day, Noah opens the window of the ark and he sends out a raven to fly to and fro and to come back and notify him once the earth is dry again. He also sends a dove out of this window to notify him once the ground is dry. But the dove first comes back and has not been able to find a place to rest, and it's wet, its face, and so he brings him in, and obviously it's still not dry yet. So he waits another 7 days, and then he sends out this dove again out to find out when. And in the evening the dove returns, and this time it has an olive leaf in its mouth. So Noah knew then that the waters had subsided, because we have tree life. But he stayed yet another 7 days, and then sent out the dove again to go out. And this time the dove did not return. So it obviously found a place to rest its feet. So it came to pass after 601 years, the 1st month, January the 1st day, the waters were dried up from the earth. So that is how we have the 1st, like January the 1st is the start of a year. This is signified in the Bible, saying that to come to pass, once the earth is finally dry, we can now place our feet upon it. So Noah opens the ark and beheld the ground is dry. So the ground is dry, we are ready to embark upon it once more. After 601 years, that's a long time. So on the 2nd month, which is February, on the 7th and 12th of February, was the earth dried. And God tells Noah, his wife, sons and daughters to leave the ark with all creatures and multiply and be fruitful on the earth. So they're asked to go forth and multiply. So they left, and Noah begins to build an altar. Now this is where I wanted to read from the Bible itself. So we are on chapter 8, paragraph 20, 21 and 22 is what I'm going to read. So here we go. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savour, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. So he's making a promise there now that, Noah is on the ground, and it's almost like he's saying from their youth they had this corruption, and now I have, I can see man's heart. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So that finishes off our chapter 8. We now move on to chapter 9. So Noah is asked to be fruitful and multiply and repleneth the earth. So God gives Noah all living things to eat. There it is for him. Makes a covenant, which makes an agreement with Noah. that they must not kill another man or woman. They must not kill, and he, God himself, will not bring any more floods to destroy the earth. And he places a bow in the clouds to represent this agreement and to remind both God and man of these promises. So we have those clouds up there like a reminder that we do not kill one another. So Noah has his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So these three sons went forth and spread over the whole earth. They go forth and they spread over the earth. And Noah plants a vineyard. And he drinks the wine from his vineyard that he's built and gets drunk and is uncovered in the tent by his son Ham. He sees his father and he tells his brothers Shem and Japheth, who are see that his father is naked while he's drunk, and they go in, they do not look, but they cover him with a garment. Now Noah wakes knowing his sons did this, and he curses the Canaan, which is one of the sons of Ham, to be a servant to his brethren, blesses Shem and Canaan to be his servant. Japheth enlarge and dwell in tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servants. And then it ends the chapter with Noah dying at 950 years old. So there is starting to be this corruption is starting to place again. You know, with Noah drinking, it's like he's falling into that darker side, and he's cursing for what they've done and causing this divide, a bit like the Cain and Abel, the divide again. So that is how we end our chapter 9. Let us now move on to chapter 10 as the story thickens. So chapter 10, we are basically, this one is really something you should read on your own. The links are under this video for each chapter, so you can read it there if you haven't got the book to hand right now. And this is giving like a breakdown of all of Noah's sons, how they then multiply and spread about the earth and creating their own nations and their own languages, and they go forth. So this is what this breakdown is. There's a lot of names and a lot of different nations that are created from this split. Just the key points that I want to pull out of this chapter is that Nimrod, he is the one of strength, is one of Ham's generations. He's come down through Ham, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. So he is a mighty one. And it says, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. So that is obviously significant. We need to be reminded of this as the story moves forth. We also have the children of Shem, and it's just noted here as we go down through the children of Shem and how they then breed. And then we have from Shem, Elam, Ashur, and Axphaseh, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, and Uz, and Hul, and Jesa, and Mash, and Asphazad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So that is also significant. It's like the earth was divided during their births. And just to finish off this chapter, chapter 10, these are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So it's important to read through this and just get those names familiar as the story will progress. I'm sure some of these names are going to come forth. Okay, let us now move on to chapter 11, which is kind of going back we've got all of this breaking down of these. It's like going back again, because it's saying here at the start, and the whole world was of one language and of one speech. Whereas in chapter 10 we were talking about them splitting up, creating their own nations and having different languages. This is saying now the whole earth was one and language, so it's going back to a significant part in the story. Okay, so in chapter 11, the whole earth has one language. They journey east to the land of Shinar, and they decide to build brick from stone and asphalt for mortar. And they decide to make a name for themselves by building a city with a tower. And they want to build this tower so high that it reaches heaven. So they are almost trying to overthrow the Lord. They're trying to create something where they can get to this higher place and maybe sort of, you know, it's like that hierarchy, isn't it, to be above the great Lord. But the Lord comes and sees what is going on. He sees this tower and the creation, and he sees that they only have one language. So what he does is he splits them all up, he confuses them and scatters them abroad, changes the languages, and the city is called Babel. So it's like that babbling, you know, when nobody knows, when you're just babbling on, it's like Babel. That is what it's named. And then we go after this, now that the generations have been scattered from this place where they were trying to build this huge tower. So we end chapter 11 going through Shem's family and his breakdown. He is the son of Noah, so it is breaking down his sons, and then the sons, and then their wives, and then the wives and their children, and then the children, and then it just goes on and on and on. So you really need to read this yourself just to get those key names that I'm sure will pop up as we move further on through this Bible. So yeah, just going through those chapters, you can see again, you know, after Noah, who is supposed to be the graceful Holy One, you know, that God has put his trust in, things are starting to turn again. I mean, Noah himself built himself a vineyard. He then drinks from it, becomes drunk, and then he's then cursing his sons and creating that division, really, because he's making one better than the other. And then they move on. They get more and multiply en masse, and then you'll see how they suddenly want to build a city, and they want to be beyond the Lord. So they want to build this tower that is better than the Lord, get to that higher place so they can be beyond it. So how is this like making you feel about the world that you reside in, and how do you feel, you know, just, well, what are your thoughts? Not so much how do you feel, what are your thoughts on reading through these chapters so far? What is your take? Where do you stand on it all? It's just so interesting how our world has come into form. And I mean, you can see there as we were talking through how Noah first stands on dry land, and it's kind of like once that dry land is announced, it was on the 1st of January, how we have the first year like that. There's so many, even in these just quickly at the beginning, how much is playing out today in our lives, how it is a part of our history, how it is a part of our everyday life. The Bible really stands out. That's why it's good to read through it, just to know, just to have that awareness and knowingness of this. So yeah, thank you for being here again. I will be here tomorrow for the next chapters in the Bible, reading through it. I hope you're getting something from this journey along with me, and yeah, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thanks everyone. Bye.